In this episode, I start a brand new series and join the amazing world of the Channel64 SMP server, beginning a whole new chapter for this channel. So, coming up, I gear up, create my very first starter builds on the server, adventure on into the end, and make new friends and so much more. So, let's begin. First things first, I chop down some wood, make up some wooden tools, and then start trying to think of something original to write on a sign on the spawn island. Nothing really sprung to mind, so I went with a classic of Mr. Markcraft who was here, and then hopped on into my boat to start exploring. I came across this beautifully made barge that was stocked up with a load of mushroom soup. I grabbed some for a quick snack and then continued onward on my way. A short way in the distance, I found a nearby savannah and decided to make land. So I then pinched a bed from a nearby empty village, crafted up a campfire, and set up my little temporary camp, and then stuck on some more pork chops onto the fire for some extra food. Once fully rested, I wasted no time and got mining for some iron so that I could begin to level up my tools and replace my rather awful leather armor that I had found in the nearby village. Before long, I had enough of some iron picks and all the armor that I'd been needing, and then made my way on into the depths of this world to find my very first diamonds. Despite it being rather painful without efficiency 5 and fortune 3 enchants, a few hours later and I at least had enough diamonds to make myself a couple of pickaxes and a sword for some protection, as well as to give me some extra diamonds for some shopping. I decided with that it was then time for me to set sail for Saltwater Island, the great starter island that's thriving with all sorts of incredible builds and shops from all the other server members. My first stop was at Harwood's bookshop, and as I couldn't afford much, I decided to start with the essentials of some Fortune 3, Silk Touch and Efficiency 5 books to get me started. I'll get all the mending ones later when I have more diamonds. Once all paid up, I then made my way over to this epic pirate ship that also contained an entrance down to a skelly spawner farm for some XP grinding. I left a small donation and then jumped on down to start leveling up so that I could add in all the enchants to my tools. Whilst there, Errington kindly popped by and left me a gift of some golden carrots, which was very much appreciated as I'm still pretty low on the food front. But with that and with my initial enchanting session now fully complete, I was then able to collect up a whole load more diamonds in absolutely no time at all and could fully gear up. This was all perfect timing as later on the weekend I'd be meeting up with Mega, who asked if I'd wanted to join him on an adventure into the end to find ourselves an elytra. I did however mess up my audio recordings, so unfortunately there is no Discord audio, but if you head over to Mega's latest episode, you'll be able to hear it all there. Failed recordings aside, we then jumped on into the portal and arrived into the end for the first time. I immediately messed up and looked an Enderman in the eye without realising, leading to an early death. Not really the best start, but thankfully I remembered to set my spawn in the stronghold and then Mega collected up all my stuff. So we were then able to quite quickly pillar up and enter in one of the end gateways. Next began the perilous part of this journey, and that was the bridging over the great void of nothingness. And with my first death having happened so soon in this journey, I was glad Mega was leading the way to begin with. But with what after felt like an absolute age, we arrived at our first end city. But alas, it was not meant to be. There was no ship in sight, which meant no elytra. Even worse, the city had already been raided by someone previously, so there was no loot to be found, and we had no choice but to continue onwards onto the next city. Mega then decided to take a short break and started collecting up some ender pearls. It did not end well. And with the long wait for Mega to make it back to the spot where we had reached before, I collected up all his stuff, placed it into a chest, and made him a little grave to remember him by. Once he finally made it back, and after a lot of extra bridging over the void, we started to run out of blocks and pick durability. Thankfully, a hero was in sight, and Archie popped along to drop us off a care package of some stacks of dirt and some iron picks. With this super helpful boost from Archie, we then made it on to the next end city, and then Mega successfully acquired his wings. With our first major victory in this quest, we then proceeded to battle with the many shulkers that were resident in the city and collected up a whole load of shells. Before long, we defeated all the shulkers, collected all the shells we could, and then found all the loot that were in all the many chests, and then continued searching for a final end city. And at long last, we found it. So I entered the ship, fought the resident guarding shulker, and then collected my wings. Mission complete. So with that, we then headed back to Saltwater Island and collected all the loot that we had stored in our ender chest, and then parted ways. Now that I had my wings, it was then time to actually start preparing for my first starter build of the episode and indeed on the server that I had planned out. So I found this nice little unclaimed corner on the island that was overlooking Loki's incredible starter base, and I'll use the term starter lightly because this build is insanely epic. But once I had finished clearing the space that I'd been needing, it was time to go on a hunt for some resources that I'd been needing to get building. So I started by flying over to nearby Mesa to collect up some orange and plain terracotta. Once done, I then moved on to start chopping down a whole load of acacia trees since I've been needing quite a lot of the wood in today's build, before then going off on a shopping spree, starting with this awesome frog lake shop found in a hidden sewer beneath the island. I only found this place by complete chance, but boy am I glad I did, since frog lights are easily one of my favourite lighting blocks. But once I bought enough that I would need, I then headed over to Liv's shop for some moss and coarse dirt since I've been needing some for some terraforming, before then finishing up over at Harwood's once again for a load of wall and glass. I think Harwood's easily claimed most of my diamonds for the season so far, so much so that I actually had to go away and mine up a load more diamonds to replenish my supplies. But after all the shopping and mining, I was left thoroughly tired out and decided to pop over to Dud's Golden Harvest Tacos to grab a quick bite to eat and take a well-deserved break. Once all rested, it was time to then head off to Nether to mine up some quartz, which would be the final missing resource needed today. And with all of that now out of the way, it was finally time to get building. And just once we get started, I don't normally like to do this, but if you've made it this far into the episode and you've really enjoyed watching, then maybe consider hitting that like and subscribe button. It really helps out the channel and will really help me in my goal to eventually start dedicating more time to creating and providing you with more frequent content. Anyway, back to the time lapse. Hope you enjoy. And it's done! I'm still trying to form my story overall for the server, but I'm thinking that the lore for this build is that I'm an eccentric explorer from a faraway distant land. I stumbled across Saltwater Island and decided to explore further, dropping down to the land below to set up my base camp to begin my exploration of this new land. Overall, I'm pretty happy with how it's come out, and I even tried to do a bit of a cockpit in the interior. Interiors in general are never really my strong suit, but I think this has come out alright and I think it does the job, so let me know in the comments down below what you think. But with the helicopter and camp all fully built, it was time to head over and join the other server members at the specially created Halloween district that they had all been so busy creating over the last few weeks. They've done an absolute incredible job, and I really am gobsmacked as to the amount of detailing and effort that has gone into this place. But anyway, we kicked off some mini games and started playing some graveyard tag that Archie had set up for us, and it was an absolute blast.
What?
Just in the graveyard then.
3.
Got left from Tarek's hiding place now. Think about an imaginative spot.
5. I just remembered I have Martin's stream open. 6. 7. Let me minimize.
I'm coming. Harrington, chat called you cheating Tom. More specifically, Obni called you cheating Tom. Probably because you had my chat open. Or my
I shut it.
I know.
No, I saw you, Mr. Scarrington.
I know, but I could get all way fast. I'm playing for the tag side.
Tarek walks past me so many times and then Liv found me. So
Get him!
I don't have any strength. How do I do that?
Just Martin
that
and
Archie?
me left, I think.
Oh no.
Oh yes.
Got it. So I think hiding would have
Mum
been
didn't die first.
I win!
Yeah! You got points for your own minigame.
After the fun and shenanigans in the Halloween district, I headed back to Saltwater Island since I had one final build up my sleeve that I'd be building for the end of the episode. It was something that I thought would fill another gap in the sky and make for a really great feature of the island when approaching from afar. So I started pillaring up and I made a small temporary platform and then got constructing. And there we go. All we really need to do now is just to add in some lanterns to light it up so that it looks really good at night, and then I think we can call this build complete. But I think it'll make a fine addition to the island, and it definitely will be a great waypoint to see as you're approaching the island from afar. But that's really now all we've really got time for, so if you like the episode and you want to see more, then make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. But until next time, I will see you later. Bye bye.